What is up, YouTube? A quick shout out to everyone who's commented, liked, and subscribed to my videos so far. If I haven't responded to you yet, I am getting there. I'm just trying to fit all of the recommendations into a sort of pattern so that they fit into the sort of track that we're working on, or the sort of vibe that we're going for. So I'm going through all the comments, listening to a lot of the tracks that you guys are posting, and I'm trying to come up with a relevant sequence that, you know, doesn't sort of just jump right into the deep end of the crazy sound design stuff right in the beginning. So I'm trying to sort of sequence it in a sort of sensible manner that's going to make it easier for everyone to understand what's going on. So I had a comment of a guy asking about how to make the sort of bendy bass lines or the gliding bass line type of effect, and I thought now would be the perfect opportunity to integrate it into the track that we're building together, because there's a break here that I think could do with that sort of style. So let's dive in and have a look. So this is the break in question. I'm going to play it for you quickly. So the idea is we're going to use the bass patch that we created for the track and then just duplicate it and edit it to fit the exact sound that we're looking for. So there's two ways of going about this. You can either create a glide or portamento effect, or you can use an LFO controlling the pitch of your oscillators. I kind of prefer using the latter of the two, just because I find there's a little bit more control in terms of the amount of time that you're using, and also if you change the BPM or the tempo of the track, it kind of, your LFO is always synced to the host tempo. So you can always save the patch and it'll fit with whichever track you're doing. So that's always something to note. I mean, if you're wanting to incorporate something that's more note specific, you know, gliding between very specific notes, then portamento or glide is the way to go. I'm going to see if I can outline them both in this video. If not, I'll do a series of two videos. But yeah, let's have a look at using the LFO first. So the idea is, let's just duplicate this bass that we've got at the moment, and then we can just click select all events, hit delete. Cool, so the idea now is we actually want to turn off the side chain so we can actually hear what's going on here. So this patch consists of a filter envelope, and that's tweaking the sound of the filter. If we edit that, you'll hear the difference. And we actually want to turn that off because we want a sort of a much more static sound that we can use to bend. I'll show you guys what I mean. So let's just click this cutoff, right click, and say remove all modulations. So if you're using layered sounds with noise oscillators and other oscillators, you can generally turn those off, and that creates a more sort of solid bass tone to work with. And it's also easier to link the LFOs to a single oscillator, and the sort of modulation of the pitch is going to sound a lot cleaner that way. So then we want to drag LFO 2 over to the course of oscillator 1, and then over in the globals settings here, you've got this double click for typable values on controls. You want to click that on, and what this allows you to do is double click on any of these parameters here in your matrix, and it allows you to type in the actual value. So say, for example, if you want 2 octaves, you can type in 24 ST, and that stands for semitones. And what it'll do is it'll work out the amount of modulation that's needed to apply 2 octaves, which would be 19. Because obviously the matrix modulation setting is on a sort of 0 to 100 basis rather than a musical scale. So that's just a little tip for working out if you want modulations to snap to a specific scale and stuff like that. Then we want to set this type so that it's only one way. So now what's happening is it's oscillating through that modulation 4 times in the bar. So depending on how long you want your sort of bass glide to be, let's say a whole bar. But that's generally a little bit long. A lot of guys use more sort of traditional like 1/2 kind of setting, and then it'll be more something like this. So what I like to do is turn the filter up a little bit just to give it more body in the sound. And then I also like to bend the curve downwards a bit just to give it like a sort of stability closer to the note, and sometimes even create like a flat part just before the end of the cycle, just so that creates like a tone that's the exact tone of what the bass is going to kick in at, if that makes any sense at all. So you can try all sorts of experimental stuff with the LFO over here. If you just want to keep it traditional, you can do something like that. At this point, I generally like to bounce it out to audio. So let's just go render in place. I just find it makes it a lot easier. So say, for example, if you want to start, let's say change this LFO now, create a different pattern, just makes it easier rather than having to duplicate and having like hundreds of VSTs open with different sort of LFO patches and stuff. I just find it's much easier to render, and then that sample is that. You can even use it in a different patch or a different track or something like that. But firstly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this so I can upload it for my Patreons. So now I've got 2 samples, different, sort of different patterns, and I can always choose which one fits which break the best. I don't have to specifically use this one, but I've got it there if I need it. So just to create some variations and stuff. I'm actually going to save this one as well. And that's how I make the bendy bass lines using an LFO in Serum. There are, like I said, other methods. I'm going to outline the portamento glide method in next week's video, and stay tuned and I'll post that one for you guys. So like I said, the 2 patches that I made, I'm going to post up for my $5 Patreon supporters. If you guys are keen, check out my Patreon page. I'm going to post the link over here. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.